someone's landing in your LinkedIn profile, what are you doing to give people a sense of quality, purpose, pride?
What are your thoughts on how to engage in stuff that could be controversial? What's your view on using AI to write content?
So the thing is...
James, welcome. Kind of got all of our good stuff out already.
Yeah, no, we'll start again.
All right, thanks for joining. Do you want to give everyone a little intro, like who you are, apart from us going to the same school at different eras?
Yeah.
Like what you do?
Yeah, happy to. So I'm James. I am a marketeer by trade. That's my day job. The kind of really quick career story is that I went to uni to study politics.
Nice.
Had no idea what I wanted to do. I did the classic thing of applying for every grad scheme under the sun. Didn't get on any of them really. At the same time, didn't really have a view as to what my career was going to be either. So I was just like, oh, FMCG sounds fun, and marketing also sounds fun, and retail sounds fun. So I just applied for a bunch of stuff. And then I ended up working in youth marketing for a year. Cool. Whilst I was still applying, studentbeans.com. I was applying for jobs while I was there. Yeah. And I got offered a job on the RBS at the time grad scheme, doing what was called business services leadership. So I ended up managing call centres and working in security, operations and resilience. Nice. Whilst I was there,
was this up in Leeds or?
No, this was in London. So I was on the grad scheme. There's 12 of us. Had a great time, really good grounding in business and all that good stuff. But I kind of caught wind that there was this like marketing function. I didn't even know what marketing functions do. In my head, my simplistic head, I thought marketing was always done by agencies. And like someone in the company would just ask for stuff to be done.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Send out an email, do an event.
Yeah, that's what I thought happened, but it doesn't. So but then I caught wind that there was this like really big creative team in the bank, and I was like, that's really fun. I want a job there. So I sent a few emails off and I applied for a very junior level assistant marketing manager looking after retail acquisition stuff. Since then, I've done social media, advertising, business banking, innovation, ventures, and that's led me to working in the commercial banking arm of the bank, and now I am head of content marketing for NatWest.
Nice. And you did a podcast and
and then on the side, I started a podcast in lockdown, which was just the creative outlet I didn't know I needed. Like I just fell in love with it. I just
super fun.
My whole life, people were like, "What's your hobby? What are you into?" Because I like hated sport, and I always had this like real shame about not really having a thing. And then I found a thing, which was podcasting and also photography. So I started a little side hustle photography business as well. Did 60 odd episodes of podcasting, and now I talk about podcasting.
Love that. It's interesting, like when you're growing up, it's like not knowing what you want to do. I remember at school, I actually found my mum found this like careers advice that I got in my last year at school. Because like they come in and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah. And you're like, I mean, for me, it was like a bit classic. I wanted to be a diamond dealer or a stockbroker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They're quite fancy ones. I wasn't exposed to such
my cousin, my older cousin, his really cool Italian mate was a diamond dealer.
Cool.
Slick back hair. He looked good. He was like, diamonds.
Looked rich.
Yeah. I want to do that. I want to do that. And then, but you don't really know.
No.
You know, I did chemistry at university. Ended up separate.
Well, my CMO has got a doctorate in chemistry. Oh. Yeah.
So you never know.
No, but you make a good point though, because I think a lot of your decisions are based on what you're exposed to. Yeah. So I was never exposed to any marketers in my network. Everyone I knew was like older people were recruiters. Or like my dad, to be fair, was in graphic design and printing. So there's a bit of creativity in the family, but no one said, oh, James, you might be good at marketing. I was told I should be a management consultant. Thank God I'm not.
You just don't know.
You just don't know.
But this is the point. We want to talk about being the CEO of your career, right?
Yes.
And so even early on when you're doing like in education or whatever, it's true. Like a lot of you're influenced by who's around you, and just like if you can't imagine being, you just never know. A lot of the time, I think my kids, their job's probably not even invented yet.
No, I don't think my future job is invented yet.
No, you never know.
No.
They say you have 3 careers in your life. There's a great book called The 100-Year Working Life. It's like 20 years, 20 years, 20 years or something.
Yeah.
So you just never know what you might transition to or pivot to. But early on, it's just, I think, trying stuff.
100%. And to be fair, like, my mum always told me to pick the subjects that I was good at. She was just like, try and get the best grades rather than trying to pick something that you want to excel in. So I guess in hindsight, that was good advice. But then I had this weird dilemma where my dad really wanted me to go and do business studies at uni. Like, he was like, obviously you should do business studies. It's going to like open all the doors. You're going to meet all these people and you're going to get a job in the city. But I just didn't study it. Like, my A levels were in like English, politics and philosophy. So I was already like a very like creative thinker. So I went to uni to study business, went to one lecture, double economics lecture, wanted to cry, it was soul destroying. And then I just walked out, knocked on the politics admission tutor's door. It's like, can I do politics? She was like, sure. So it's like in a split second, even after pouring blood, sweat and tears into this UCAS application, it just changed.
Yeah.
Everything changes like on a
You never really know. I was speaking to someone about this yesterday because like in the UK, you have to specialise really early. So like you have to choose like 3/4 subjects, right, at A level.
You do.
And then you go and do one thing at university. Whereas you've got like the International Baccalaureate where you're doing like more, I don't know whether it's 6, 7, 8. America even, you'd have to specialise so early. So here you've got to pick. And often it's, like what's going to get you the good grades to get into university, to get a good degree. And then the classic is like, well, then you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And then that's the problem, right?
Doesn't quite work.
So you get all of that and you're like, well, suddenly you can do anything you want but you've been told your whole life, you do your, let's say GCSEs, A levels, let's say you go to university. Now a lot more people are choosing not to go to uni and doing vocational stuff. But then when you come out of uni and then it's like, how do you go about building your career? It's quite a hard thing.
I was obsessed with my career, like obsessed. Like I was applying for internships. At uni during the summers, I was working at Camp America. Like everything I did in my whole childhood was about building up a CV because I really wanted to just have a competitive advantage.
Did you have in mind where you wanted to get to, or was just?
I wanted to get into the city. I wanted to be a management consultant.
Right.
I was like, I need a job at one of the big 4. Like that feels exciting. You get to be, it's creative thinking, but also you're busy and it's well paid. And I just didn't know. Like, for example, social media wasn't even a thing back when I was making these decisions or giving it this thought anyway.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have thought about marketing if I was exposed to it, because I would have had to think about, do I go into agency? Like, what type of marketing?
Yeah.
Is it really a skill set? All those sorts of things. So it's all about constant investment, but you can't, I'm not a massive believer in career planning either because of my experience in how I've got here anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone has a career in hindsight. I can tell you now, all these dots just joined up and here I am with a fancy job title, but it was just a hustle. Every year is just a hustle. I don't know who I'm going to meet at networking events, who's going to slide into my DMs on LinkedIn, like what job opportunities come up internally. I mean, I'm very grateful. I've been at NatWest now for nearly 12 years. So like, I'm happy. It's great.
Yeah.
But I've had lots of different moves from within.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. You can't always plan it unless you want to be a doctor or something, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to.
I was never going to be that.
Neither was I. It's my mum's disappointment, probably.
Yeah,
but
mine.
Generally, you can't plan it, but you can certainly move forward. But a lot of the other thing is, a lot of people, they wait for their companies to provide them the opportunity or provide them this, provide them that. But for me, so much of it is taking ownership, like being the CEO of your career, taking ownership of your career, learning, like the networking stuff.
I couldn't agree more. I think there is a degree of entitlement for a lot of people thinking, and I can see why it exists, because in some industries you do get promoted based on years. So every 2 years you'll be tapped on the shoulder being like, it's time that
until you're not.
Until you're not.
Because there's a point where you're like, suddenly it's like a pyramid structure, right? So you're getting promoted. Management consultancy is quite classic example, right?
Yeah.
So like the classic grades, and suddenly everyone wants to be a partner.
Yeah. There's a path there.
Yeah. But you like.
Then what happens? Yeah.
You get passed over. You miss out to that guy or that girl, whatever, and you're like, fuck, And
the
then-
other thing is about professional development though, because like as a people leader, I can, we can say, oh, there's this really great course in XYZ. But if everyone does the same course in XYZ, yeah, great, you've all leveled up. But what is your competitive advantage? Like, what are you going to, invest your time in that's going to feel quite difficult and uncomfortable, but will set you apart? That, if we think about your career as a business, that's going to be your USP. That's going to be your competitive advantage. And that's going to give you something to pitch and hustle for.
100%. Which brings us to social content.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, for me, one of the many things, right? Because obviously you have to be competent and good at what you do, right? I mean, that's kind of maybe, let's just say baseline,
Yeah.
right? But there was a guy, I spoke to this guy like yesterday, and he was like, him and a colleague were going for like the next level up, basically, and he missed out. And he's like, oh, I'm way better than them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, technically, I'm better.
Mm.
I'm like, great, but you didn't get the call there, did you? You didn't get the job.
No.
The other guy got the job. Why did you not get the job?
Mm.
And kind of when you go under the skin, it boils down to a little bit like the guy who got the job was really good at networking, right? This happened to be internal, but it works both ways because you get to a point where they call it the hidden job market.
Yeah.
Like, so search firms like ours, every search firm, very few advertise any jobs.
Mm.
So when you're looking for like a head of or a director, whatever that leadership role title is, you're going to have to really go hard on networking and being visible. If you're hiding in the corner, no one's going to call you, and there's a lot of people vying for those jobs. So suddenly you will get to a point in your career where, you've been promoted every couple of years and you feel like, you're the best, and suddenly you miss out.
But that's the thing that's changed in my lifetime, in my career. And I appreciate, I've only been working in the corporate world for 12 years. But 12 years ago, there was LinkedIn, but it was by no means what it is today.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got to layer over the TikTokification or the Mr. Beastification of content and social media, whereby everyone can be a creator, everyone can be discoverable and visible. Oh, and guess what? The recruitment agencies are also cottoned onto that, and they can find you as well.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna, if you think about SEO, if I was to kind of make the link to marketing, it's like, how are you going to optimize your brand, you as a person, so that you are in the eyes of the recruitment agencies when they come looking for a job? Like, you've just got to be visible, be top of mind at all times. And good and bad things, obviously, the TikTokification of social media has allowed us to do that. Like, I can get my posts in front of more people than I used to be able to because of the interest graph and what have you. But that means that there is more competition, which kind of raises everyone's games.
For those that don't know, like, what does that mean? So in terms of, you used to have to have lots of followers, right? Now you can just...
Yeah, so the evolution of social media is such that back in the day, i.e. pre-TikTok, which wasn't that many years ago, literally like 2 or 3 years ago, your content would be served to essentially your network, your follower network, because the algorithm would assume that the people that you follow and follow you are interested in what you're doing, and that'd be based on who you went to school with, who you work with, your friends, your family, and it was very social, that's your social media network. Then along came TikTok, and they realized that actually people have shared interests. So you talk about podcasting, and you've got a whole podcasting community. So your content, when you're talking about podcasts, won't just be served to your friends and family. It'll be served to people who are interested in podcasting, which, by the way, is much bigger than your close friends and family.
Yeah.
So the interest graph, and you can kind of plot that across many, many different interests, allows your content to be served to infinitely more people than ever before.
Incredible.
So the world has opened up for people. Everyone is a creator. You can go viral. You can be a nobody. Yeah. Nobody. That's a bit
no followers. You can have no followers.
You can have no followers. A relatively discreet person, and you can go viral overnight if you get your content right.
Incredible. Which
is a huge opportunity. It's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity.
And it costs you zero money.
Costs you zero.
It's amazing,
Costs you zero. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I started my company, I remember, like, this is almost 15 years ago. I took an advert in the paper, £1,000. You want the best recruiter? Call me.
The cost of marketing,
And now suddenly, with organic content, it's completely. I can punch way above my weight.
Yeah, 100%.
With small budget.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
And it's amazing for recruitment. It's amazing for personal branding. It's amazing for content creators. It's just everyone. So,
Yeah. If you want to build, for me, if you want to build a career, it's just something that you have to do.
Yes, but also I think it's important. I've got to be careful what I say here. I come from a place, and I'm very biased because like I love content. I work in content. I have podcasts and photography. So like I love it for my personal gain.
Yeah.
I can imagine that there are people who are full-time employed, maybe at a bank, maybe at a law firm, who don't quite understand their reason why. But what it's done for other brands, like if I speak for the brand that I work for, it allows us to show up in a much more authentic, relevant way to our customers.
Yeah.
So if we want to be seen as, for example, a bank full of, experts and people who are there to help you build your business, you can have relationship managers to create content about how they're helping customers.
Yeah.
And it allows other people who might bank with another bank to see, oh, they're doing a really good job. So it's kind of it works not just for entrepreneurs and founders and CEOs, but for employees.
Everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Because if I see a podcast or some content about NatWest helping an entrepreneur build a business, suddenly you feel an affinity to it.
That's exactly it.
And then I'm like, oh my God, right, I need to open an account. But to your point then, for those that are sitting there and are like, I'm not really sure how to.
Yeah.
Because I think that in terms of like, I don't think there's many people saying I don't see the value.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that ship sailed now, right? Like in terms of, I think so.
Yeah, cool.
Like in terms of being, unless you think otherwise.
So
in terms of, let me give you context. So if you are, you're looking for your first leadership role, these jobs aren't advertised anymore. Your mate's got the call, you haven't, and you're sitting there in the corner, not visible. But they are getting the job. So you can get that next job, but you're not. So what are they doing that you're not doing?
Yeah, but I'm not sure they've connected the dots that it is about visibility, because there is still some people potentially that think it's based on your CV and how you wrote it, and did you apply in time, and did you have a covering letter and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, for those
which we've been socialized, that's how I was raised.
No, fair enough. For those that think that,
yeah,
right. For those that think that, there's some degree of truth. You've got to get all these things right.
Yeah, that's
right?
hygiene now.
Yeah, you can jump on ChatGPT. You can stick in the job spec, or whichever your favorite AI language model is. But you can stick in the job spec, stick in your LinkedIn profile. Will write you. It just will write everything for you, right? But let's assume everyone's doing that. So that's standard.
Yeah.
So then, like, what's the difference that makes a difference? And for me, a lot of it is around being visible.
Correct.
And contributing to conversation,
Invisible
building community, networking, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of the ways to do that, obviously you talked about networking events. You can go in person and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the wonderful thing with content is you can be like an introvert, you can be an extrovert, you can sit at home and you can jump on. And I think for me, like, some like how to kick off, right? You could even just start liking people's content.
Yeah,
that's content.
Yeah.
Comment, just a great post. You can start getting used to it for 5 minutes a day.
Yeah,
you don't have to do a podcast.
Depending on which guru you listen to, there's different ways of getting started. Like, I feel my personal view is that there are no rules to doing this, and I feel like whoever tells you there are rules is probably wrong. But to your point, I think if I was giving anyone advice on like how to get started on just being a little bit more visible, the first thing I would do is just make sure you've got a good LinkedIn profile. Like, have you got a display picture? Is it you? Have you put your job title? Is it up to date? Your hashtags, your like the tags and things that you can do, and just making sure that you're optimized so that if an algorithm sees you, you're gonna feed it properly.
Yeah.
Then, to your point, engage with like-minded people. What do you find interesting? Like, never mind just sitting in your echo chamber and your colleagues, and as lovely as that is, and I do it all the time, like I love to cheer my colleagues on who've got promotions and the usual congratulations, but like
humble bragging.
I love a humble brag. Like, people poo-poo it all the time. I'm like, go for it. I love it. The more bragging, the better, personally. But I actually will be on TikTok because that's kind of my guilty pleasure. That's where I end up most nights. And I'll see people like content creators, and I'll be like, oh, he's really cool. I want to stalk him on LinkedIn. I stalk him on LinkedIn. Oh, guess what? He's actually quite active on LinkedIn. I'm going to connect with him on LinkedIn. Added him to my network. I start writing on his stuff.
Yeah.
We've built up a relationship, a digital relationship. And then I'm invited to networking events.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're friends.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because if you want to actually meet the guy, you just drop him a DM and they'll be like, who's this person liking, commenting on my stuff? Absolutely.
Just like how we met.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's how it works. It's how it works. It's not that deep.
No.
You just engage with other people, and then when you've got the courage, you start posting, and it doesn't even have to be super. When people talk about authenticity, I think there's a vision of using social media as like a therapy session, and you have to pull your heart out and be super vulnerable and tell everyone about your divorce or your breakup, and it's
picture of you, your dog,
crying in your bedroom or something really dramatic just to get cut through. It's not that. If you work in marketing, take a screenshot of a marketing campaign and give your thoughts. By the way, that stuff has done the best for me. Like that's what got kind of not so much viral. I'm technically viral, but like I got a few million views.
Yeah, you did. I saw one of you. Which one was? Was it like a shampoo?
I've done Reese.
Skincare.
I did Dove.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, but to your point, absolutely.
And by the way, that's called hijacking. So that is an actual technique in content creation of just jumping on the bandwagon, hijacking the conversation, make it about you. It's not my
But to your point though, you're in marketing.
Yeah.
You really like the marketing campaign. You've taken it, you've commented, you shared your views, you posted it.
Yeah. Because my brand values, coming back to the personal brand kind of theory, is that I want to be seen as an expert in marketing, as a thought leader. So X brand has done a really good campaign. I want to give them as much credit as possible, whilst also making me look good, to be clear, as someone who's got an opinion on marketing, and it's driving conversations.
Yeah.
So everyone wins.
Absolutely.
Because the PR managers and the marketing leaders who did that campaign start being like, oh, thank you so much for like raising awareness of my campaign. I'm like,
absolutely. It's nice. Everyone feels good about it.
It feels a bit hollow and disingenuous when I articulate it in that way. But the fact of the matter is that is how it works.
But it's like, it is how it works. And there's an online is, like the real world, so to speak. It's that people are communicating in that way.
Yeah.
People
and also,
want
I'm
to
not
see
being
interesting
fake. Like, it's 100% genuine. Like, I like the campaign.
Yeah.
And they were my opinions.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone. But everyone has an opinion.
But then also, a lot of people that are in your network that follow you want to hear your views about other marketing stuff.
Well,
right?
yeah,
That's
now they
one
do.
of your.
They didn't a year ago.
But you built that up.
Correct.
Has it only been a year then since you've been?
No, it's been a bit longer than that. Yeah. But I'm slow. I say to everyone, like, I look at people who go viral overnight and then all of a sudden they've got like 50,000 followers, and I'm just like, that wasn't me. Like, that isn't me.
But also, to your point earlier, it doesn't matter about the followers.
100% doesn't matter.
I would just think about, because if we're back to the point of, you want to be more visible, land your next, just contribute.
Yeah.
Liking, commenting, you get more confident, you can do your own stuff. To your point, you can hijack interesting things in your niche and comment on it. And then you just start to get out there. And
back to the point about the TikTokification of social media. We are now becoming more wired than ever to make shortcuts, and we're looking for heuristics the whole time. So when you land on, just like you do on a website, if you're looking for a restaurant or a hotel, and you will be looking for social proof, the review, the Trustpilot logo, or reviews, or polished photography, or just anything that you can think of that is going to make you think this is a credible, good value for money purchase that you're making. And it's the same for personal branding. If someone's landing on your LinkedIn profile, what are you doing on your page to give people a sense of quality, purpose, pride, thoughtfulness, whatever? So it might be a photo of you speaking, a photo of you shaking someone's hand. It might be just a post about a screenshot of a campaign, or a green screen, or a shared video. So it's like looking for ways in which you can make other people who find you or discover you think that you are living up to your brand values, whatever they may be. Because I'm coming at it from a marketing perspective, but it could be law, it could be pharmaceuticals, it could be anything.
Then this is the other thing. A lot of people now, you rolled your eyes at ChatGPT. But a lot of people are writing content using it.
Yes,
right.
I did a post on this the other day.
Did you?
Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
I thought that was No,
I didn't see it. Yeah. So my eyes are rolling back now, because it's like a lot of, you can tell when someone has written it using AI and not bothered to change it, right?
I know.
So to your point about authenticity and connecting the dots and things like that, there's nothing worse than like you're following someone, you actually quite like them, and I like drop them a note, you chat, and you're like, hold on a sec,
Yeah.
like who's this? Like
Nothing worse. Nothing worse.
thing.
Yeah.
So what's your view on using AI to write content and things?
So the thing is, I use AI every single day for most things. Like, I'm a big fan of ChatGPT. I'm a big fan of, we were talking just before we started recording about all the AI tools I use for content production as well. And that's only going to get more sophisticated and better. So from a marketing perspective, a corporate marketer's perspective, AI is here to stay. So it's actually irrelevant what I think of it. It's here, it's happening, get on it. Or if you choose not to,
see it,
at your peril.
Yeah.
When it comes to writing content on LinkedIn using ChatGPT, it's criminal. Like, it's literally
without editing it and stuff.
And it's so, what people don't realize, it's well intentioned, because someone said, I want to write a post about XYZ. That becomes the prompt, and then the prompt churns out something that sounds relatively sophisticated by all accounts. Like, well put together. There's the bullet points and the emojis and the bold headline, that all the telltale signs of a ChatGPT post. They're like, yeah, that sounds clever. I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to and then I'm like, it is so painfully obvious to anyone, well, to most people, I'd like to think, that it's like the antithesis of what authenticity on social media should be. And I actually did a post on this the other day, and I was like, something along the words of like, let it be known, ChatGPT people, I see you. Like, it is so obvious that you're using it, and it's going to backfire, because it's not you. If there's a disconnect between how you're posting, how you're writing, and then you meet someone and they're just like, that feels a bit uncomfortable, or there's a disconnect there, then like, it's not going to end well.
No, and also you don't need to write much.
You don't need to. The best posts are shorter.
Yeah, just a little. There's loads of really great folks that are just doing short content. I mean, video's king, I think, right?
Yeah.
Still.
Video, yeah.
But if you're not confident doing video, it's fine. Like, you can just still write.
Yeah, listen, the formats are changing, and it depends on the platform. But yeah, generally speaking, I always think video first. Like, we see it in stats and analytics, whether you're a corporate brand or a personal brand, like video content. And actually, I follow Adam Mosseri on Instagram, who is like the CEO of Instagram, and he outwardly says like, we're a video first platform.
Right.
That being said, carousels do really well on TikTok. Document ads do really well on LinkedIn, because it's driving engagement. It's a bit disruptive. So just be smart with your formats. But I'm not saying everyone needs to whip out a camera and have a ring light in their bedrooms.
No. But definitely, but to your point, don't just copy and paste.
Do not.
And you haven't got to do long. You don't have to do long stuff.
But here's the other thing: if you're going to use ChatGPT, like, I applaud those who are giving it a go. Like, it's better to post.
Try it.
However, just improve your prompting, because there are ways of making ChatGPT sound a little bit more like you. So one of the things you could do is copy and paste previous posts that you've done in your own voice, and be like, to ChatGPT, I want you to pay attention to my tone of voice and the length and the structure of how I speak. I then want you to come up with 5 bullet points around a particular topic. Now, take those particular topics and use my tone of voice and come up with a post on ABC. It does that. It will look awful. Then you say, that sounds awful. It sounds too professional. Make it 50% shorter. Give me more bullet points. I want it to be really pithy. Explain it to a 5-year-old. First person, passive tone, all of those kind of hacks. And then actually you might end up with something that you might be able to get away with.
And also, for the time you've saved, spend like 2 seconds editing it yourself.
Correct.
Because it's easy to just make it your own.
Correct.
Because there's nothing wrong with using it. And it's wonderful to use. And let's say you've got like, you've got like a 20-page industry report, and you quite fancy writing something on it. You can stick it in. You can ask it for the top 5 key themes.
Exactly.
You can start, get micro, and then you can start to do your own stuff. That's cool.
Totally.
And if you're living in England,
that's how it should be.
Yeah. And if you're living in England, change the Z's to S's.
Correct.
Please.
Yeah. Don't you say anglicize this. You're using Americanisms, but you can say that to ChatGPT. But
or Gemini or Anthropic or whatever you're using.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, massively important.
Massively important, but it's super exciting. Like, I'm all for it. Like I said, I just wish people would prompt a bit better.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so you're doing all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and then I think just relating it to like helping you build your personal network, it's not personal, professional networking community, is you can then translate it into real life human connections. That story you told earlier, you saw this guy on TikTok, you found him on LinkedIn, you liked his stuff, you ended up dropping him a message and you met, right?
Yeah.
It's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
So in the context of like finding work, you can do it the same way, is you can like find content that is relevant to you, right? You can just write it in LinkedIn search bar, then you can order it by posts.
Yep.
And then you can start liking and commenting on people's stuff.
Yep.
If you want to go work for NatWest, you can go find everyone at NatWest. You can start liking, commenting on stuff. You can drop them a DM. I'd say I'm sure 9 out of 10 people will probably get back to you, even 5 out of 10, whatever. And you can have a chat. And
100%.
you can start to like take ownership of your own career, right? Because if you're just replying to job ads, you've got to be in like the top 10, 20 folks to even get a shot. Plus all of it's done by AI now, right? So if you're applying to like a big, it's really likely that
they're looking for keywords in the CVs and getting.
So you're using your AI to like make sure your profile's like going to be found by this AI to then hopefully get through to a human. You're leaving it up to luck, right? So you might as well do everything in your control to give yourself the best chance of like meeting the right person and landing that job. And all of this kind of stuff is something that you can do.
Yeah. And you need to have a network who are going to be your cheerleaders as well. Like I follow another random influencer who's a fitness influencer. I'm not into fitness, but I really like how he creates films. And then one day he randomly tagged his editor, his social editor. And I was like, oh, he's interesting. Clicked on him. He's got a little profile and like he's got a portfolio. So I had a conversation with him and potentially exploring opportunities for how we can work together. Yeah. So I think, again, that wouldn't have I could have done that through a Google search, but it was, again, based on the interest graph. I was served content that the platform, TikTok in this case, knew I liked it. The guy had tagged his editor, followed onto him, who'd also has got a good personal brand, and that's how business opportunities show themselves.
Absolutely. And these algorithms are really good because generally all the stuff I'm actually really interested in.
They know more about you than you think you do.
They know more about me than myself.
I think they do. I think you're right.
Probably.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. What are your thoughts on moving on? Like, so we had Mark Zuckerberg change the right, whatever we could call it, say freedom of speech, but so you got community notes and the moderation. That's what the word I wanted to get. So they've changed that. X have changed too. So within the context of like you're working for a company, what are your thoughts on how to engage in stuff on different platforms that could be controversial and like there's some kind of like, do you have to be careful? Like what's the landscape now? Because if people are seeing you, just to give you some more context. So to your point, like let's say you're interviewing someone for a job in your team, you will go on social media and you will look at them, right? So the social proof stuff. Now, if you see them like making controversial comments on people's posts about, and maybe they've waded into politics and this and that, it will affect, and maybe it shouldn't, but I think in reality it probably does, affect people wanting to invite them for an interview or give them a job.
Oh, difficult question. I mean, I think the dust is still settling, so I'm not sure if that's just a very hypothetical situation, because I'd like to think that in a professional context, people would still be acting professionally.
I did a poll on it. I did do a poll on it, and we actually did one at work, and we did one in our office as well. And I think the thing is, I think the illegally, if a company is basing their hiring decision on social content, you should be doing it for everyone. Right, so rather if you've just say rejected someone based on you didn't like their political views on something, but you're not doing it for everyone else, then that's not right. So I think as a company, one needs to be doing it. But anyway, as an individual, right, I think in terms of planning your career and getting opportunities and things, I do think one has to be mindful of how they come across online.
100%.
Whether we feel it should work like that or not.
yeah, I mean, it's a battle I've had personally, like a lot over the years. As to
It's a
whether-
hard, like,
It's a hard line,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
ultimately you've got to make a decision. It's like, is it more important that I say this thing that I passionately care about, or is it more important to protect my career?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, my career has always been a bit more important.
And do you choose which platform? So, like LinkedIn, for example.
Yeah.
Generally, I see most people are choosing their words carefully. Most of the profiles, I'm sure there's some fake ones, but generally are genuine people. It's about careers,
Yeah.
making money.
Positive.
Really, generally, I find LinkedIn very positive.
Yeah.
Other platforms, you can hide your identity, and it's a bit more of a cesspit of humanity.
Yeah.
People are being like angry and aggressive, and just for the sake of
They
it.
can be. Yeah,
They
they
can
can
be.
be. I think for me, I've always said, like, and I've done a few podcast episodes on this about like the dark side of social media or how toxic it can be. But I always come back to this idea, especially now it's much easier to do with the growth of the interest graph, is you can curate your feed. Like, I just choose not to engage with that. So typically I don't get served it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't get drawn in. Like, I just don't feel like, again, my personal brand, a brand needs to be protected.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, I don't want, when I talk about marketing campaigns on LinkedIn, for example,
Yeah.
I will only do positive ones. I will never critique a marketing campaign.
Right.
Because why, how is that beneficial to anyone? I just don't think that's a good look on me. And also, why am I going to waste my airtime dissing something? Like, it's just silly. So you can create your brand, you can create your feeds, and just like, if you want to come across as, you know, an expert, a professional, someone who's polished, knows what they're talking about, just toe the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just keep your mouth shut.
I think for LinkedIn, you've got to be absolutely careful.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
you don't
generally, I
need
think
to-
there's a digital footprint everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, if someone wants to fight, if like people do it all the time in the celebrity world, like when you go on Big Brother, but I used to remember like, oh, in 2003, this one tweeted this and therefore we should cancel him, and cancel culture is rife.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. And that's it. And it could come back to bite you. This is
Yeah.
one of the questions we were talking about internally. It's someone found an old tweet of someone years ago, and it was a bit controversial and like whatever. Should that be the reason not to hire them or invite them for an interview? And that was the kind of the debate. So you've got to be very careful. You know, like when you're young, you might, you know, whatever.
but the other thing is that when you're in a position of responsibility, and I would argue that working at a large corporate with nearly 20 million customers is a position of
Absolutely.
responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be sure that we are, you know, reflecting our customers.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't want, you know, I'm not speaking on behalf of the bank, obviously, but, you know, my personal view is that it's not appropriate to have your political opinions, you know, posted on social media, because at the end of the day, we've got to maintain a level of trust and respect with our customers who expect us to be professional.
Yeah. I think the politics stuff's really interesting, because when I was growing up, it was always like, never speak about politics at work. You know, it was like politics, religion, race. You know, there's like never speak about them. What's been interesting recently is that people have been. You know, you're seeing like quite a lot of like business, Elon Musk, other business leaders weighing in on politics. So I think it's really interesting, but also it could be quite dangerous, I think. But as an individual, I mean, I would just kind of stick to your lane.
Yeah.
Contribute to the conversation in your industry.
Yeah.
And it's going to give you the best.
All comes
chance
back
of-
to your brand values.
Yeah. Unless you're in politics and you
Unless
can weigh
you're
in hard.
Yeah.
Love it.
But maybe LinkedIn wouldn't be the best channel. I don't know.
Probably not.
Yeah.
You never know. Awesome, James. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great chat. I'll have to do it again.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, that went fast.